What's up, everyone? Welcome, Sideline Brief Podcast, on episode 213. No NFL games to preview this weekend, so we're going to go ahead and start our season reviews. We're going to start with the AFC North. A lot of coaching changes. 3 out of the 4 coaches in this division were fired or voluntarily removed themselves from the position, so a lot to talk about there. Plus, we got UFC 325 this weekend, back-to-back numbered events for the UFC. I think this one's in Australia, so we'll preview that as well. Plus some NBA news, some big news in terms of trades. The biggest name on the trade market has finally been open to offer, so we'll discuss all that coming up shortly. So with all that being said, stay tuned. Jump right into this. Before we get into the AFC North, we do have a couple of NFL news items outstanding that we got to go over. I think first we probably should start in Buffalo, as they promoted their OC, Joe Brady, to being their head coach. As a resident Bills fan, Jacob, how do you feel about this?
You know, I'm trying to be positive and try to stay even-keeled, and I think I'm doing an okay job because I think it's one of those decisions we have to kick down the line and talk about in, week 8 or week 9 of next year, or maybe after the season, because I understand the fact that Joe Brady was a hot commodity last year in the cycle, decided to stay for another year. He was getting head coach interviews this cycle as well. And it was one of those situations where you don't want to if you think he's a guy, you can't let the guy out of your building, like the Falcons did with Shanahan. Other examples there. So for that sense, I understand it. Also for the sense of, keeping things very, very similar and just getting rid of McDermott. I'm not sure how that's going to play out in the end. They're looking for a culture change. The guy was there the entire time, the last couple of years. So this is one that we'll see. I'm not necessarily upset. I'm not necessarily happy. If Josh Allen's happy, then everybody else will be happy in Buffalo. But I mean, Josh did win an MVP with Joe Brady as the offensive coordinator. So hopefully that's a sign for good things to come. But yeah, I think a lot of people in Buffalo are neither thrilled nor upset about it. So
cool. Lawrence, any thoughts about this hire by the Buffalo Bills, keeping their guy?
Well, I don't think he would have gotten any head coaching spots personally. So it kind of just felt like he kept him in to keep him from moving. But in reality, like Jacob said, he didn't change anything. It's still going to be the same run course inside the building because it's the same guy that was just, let's just frankly speak, he was just learning under the tutelage of this other coach. He's just going to completely just drop everything. No, his thought processes are still going to be similar. Joe Brady was in Carolina at one point. Sean McDermott was in Carolina at some point. I mean, the connections go deeper like that, but you're just going to tell me that you're talking about changing everything as a whole overall. It's just not going to happen with that kind of addition, or wouldn't even say addition, that kind of promotion. And honestly, the only thing that might suffer is your offense when he has less time to, articulate matchups and plans for his offense. Because let's face it, he's got a defense and just the lives of his players more so to deal with. I think it's interesting, but I don't know how much it's gonna help him down the road.
Yeah, I agree. It was an interesting choice, in my opinion. I mean, I don't hate it. I don't really particularly love it. For me, I feel like the main problem is the GM just not drafting Pro Bowl caliber players, which you really need to. If you want to win a Super Bowl, you need multiple Pro Bowl, and all Pro players, and they just haven't done that outside of Josh Allen and this year James Cook. So I don't know, Jacob. I don't know. We'll have to see, though.
If I had to step in like Terry Pagula did, it's the coach's fault. It's all McDermott. McDermott wanted to draft every bad player that we drafted. It was not Bean's fault. Bean only picked the good players, and McDermott only picked the bad players. Just so everyone's clear moving forward.
Copy, copy that one.
Specifically, Keon Coleman. Keon Coleman. That was all McDermott. He's the reason why he sucks, not Bean.
That's what they're saying. That's what they're saying. Next up, we'll touch upon this slightly because we got them coming up in the AFC North. But Todd Monken has been hired as the Browns head coach. So that's that. But I feel like the biggest news coming out the NFL, Bill Belichick, not a first ballot Hall of Famer. Don't understand this one bit. I was shocked when I saw the news. I thought it was kind of, I don't know, some fake generated stuff on X, but no, this is real. Lawrence, I'm gonna start with you. How do you feel about this news coming out? Bill Belichick, probably of the modern era coaches, like he is the standard. This guy's not making the Hall of Fame on the first ballot.
I don't know. It's kind of one of those things. It is what it is. I mean, he's going to get in there eventually. I mean, maybe it's one of those things that we don't really have anything to look on. But I mean, Jimmy Johnson didn't immediately make the Hall of Fame, and he was a pretty good coach. So I don't know. I feel like the standard for a coach to make the Hall of Fame immediately off the rip is a little bit different than a player because physically you weren't the one out there doing all the physical work. I mean, I don't have anything to compare it to, though. I don't know any other coaches that have recently retired that have been any good to become Hall of Famers. I mean, how long did it take Bill Parcells to become a Hall of Famer after he was out of it? I don't know that one answer completely. But no, I don't think it's that crazy.
That's an interesting take right there, Jacob.
Yeah, let me just go ahead and say what the standard, how about 6 Super Bowls? How about 7 total, I think, as a coordinator? Like, maybe the guy that's won more Super Bowls as a head coach than anybody else. Oh, yeah, and he was the GM, too. Like, maybe we should let that guy in. Like, I don't know. If there is a standard, let's make one with Bill Belichick, who everyone assumed was the greatest of all time. Like, I think it might have to do with some of the, prior investigations. If that's the case, that's tired. I don't know if it has to do with maybe his situation in North Carolina now. I did hear a source say that they felt someone didn't vote for him in case he came back to the NFL, which I guess makes sense. But if you're voting on a guy to make the Hall of Fame and it's Bill Belichick, you just don't put no. Like, yeah, he's going to get there eventually, but he's always going to have that caveat. Like, he was not a first ballot Hall of Famer. And when it comes to first ballot anything, having the most of the thing you seek, I think that deserves and warrants probably getting into the Hall of Fame when on the parchment. But I don't know. What do you think, Markel?
Yeah, this is absolute blasphemy, man. This is insane. This is, I mean, at the very least, this is like very disrespectful. Even if he somehow does come back to NFL, which I doubt. I think at this point he's committed to UNC. I think it's just very disrespectful. The man won 8 Super Bowls. I think 9 if you count coordinator. If you take away Spygate, Deflategate, he still has 6. All right. It's insane, man. I think this is very disrespectful. This is discredits the Hall of Fame.
So there's only 5 of them who ever won first ballot Hall of Famers for coaching. George Hollis, Vince Lombardi, Tom Landry, Chuck Noll, and Don Shula are the only 5 head coaches to ever first ballot Hall of Fame in.
Okay, so the guy that's second and wins behind Don Shula doesn't get in the first ballot. I think that's ridiculous. Even if you take away the Super Bowls, if you go strictly just wins, great seasons, I think it's a no-brainer. I think these media people, former executives,
you got to remember all the people he probably wronged along the way to get the votes. I mean,
exactly.
He did screw over the entire Jets franchise for years to come. He did like you said, he did Spygate. He did Deflategate. Man's probably done 6 other gates and just haven't been proven. I mean, South Park made I want to say multiple episodes on Bill Belichick being a cheater. So to me, I don't really care. He'll get in. It is what it is.
I feel like we got to find out who these voters are. We got to publicly shame them and take away their votes. I think the Hall already said that they're going to find out if any of their quote unquote bylaws were violated, and some of these guys might get their votes taken away. But I think at the very least they should be public. Like if you vote, you gotta say who you are and what was your reasoning behind it. I don't know if you have any thoughts behind that, Jacob.
I agree. I think that goes with a lot of things in sports. I think a lot of people that deserve accountability don't get it.
Yep.
Voters, for not even just the Hall of Fame, for the MVP awards and your Heisman's and just all that kind of stuff. It should be public, because otherwise, like, what are you hiding? Like, why can't it be public?
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't you love to know who put Ichiro and Derek Jeter not on their first Hall of Fame ballots? I would have. Sure. Ichiro missed it by like, well, what was he? He had like 98% of the votes. There was literally like one person who said he wasn't a Hall of Famer that one time around. And then Derek Jeter as well. He had like 98% of the votes or something. There's just one dude out there who said no.
Yeah.
I think baseball's Hall of Fame is extremely different than NFL's. But I agree with you. I agree with what you're saying. And also, like, yeah, it would have been nice, because that person would have gotten clowned for the rest of the time, being like, why did you not think Ichiro was a Hall of Famer? Like, what are you, nuts? Like, similarly with the Bill Belichick thing, it's like, if we had those 11 names, maybe half of them could go public and be like, here's why I didn't. And then we can talk about why they didn't, as opposed to not knowing why he wasn't a first ballot Hall of Famer. Yeah.
I think the speculation doesn't help. It's just kind of makes the situation worse.
Yep.
Next up, we got the AFC North. We'll start from the bottom, work our way up. So that leaves us with the Browns. They hired Todd Monken to be their next head coach. Jim Schwartz is staying as a DC. I think that was part of the package. If you take the job, you also got to take Jim Schwartz, who, I mean, by all accords, has this defense playing very, very well the past, I don't know how many years he's been there, but this defense has been top notch. They just haven't had a offense to put up some points. So, Lawrence, we'll start with you on this one. The Browns season, did it turn out how you previewed prior to the season?
I mean, yes and no. I mean, did I believe Shador would be starting by the end of the season? Yeah. Did I think he'd only start like 5 games? Was it? No, I think
5 or 6
more. I mean, overall, I think the Browns head coaching spot was like the best place to go for a young guy. And reasons being, if you get ruined or you don't look good, you can always just say it's the Browns. I mean, there was moments there where I was looking real good, but it's the Browns. They just did Brown things. But like, how can you not like it? You got Shador Sanders. Not saying he's an amazing prospect or he's like the bee's knees.
Pro bowler.
Like, he's not ass. Yes, somehow he did make the Pro Bowl. Over some other people at other positions who were so more deserving.
Yep.
Around the league. Kind of shows you what the Pro Bowl is. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of rebuilding involved. You don't have anyone to catch a football besides like the tight end Fannin and Njoku. So besides your tight ends, you got like nobody can catch a football. Because Judy's not coming back until like halfway through the next season, or didn't he wasn't it Achilles related or ACL related? I don't remember. But even if Judy's your best guy, still not a best guy to have as your best guy.
I agree, Jacob. You weren't on for our preview of the AFC North, but how would you say the Browns season went?
I'm going to try to be honest, because I'm going to take credit for this first one, even though I didn't give a preview. For the season, I said quarterback drama is going to take over most of the highlight. Myles Garrett's probably going to get a lot of sacks. Team's going to stink, and Stefanski's probably going to get fired at some point, because I knew he didn't like Shador. Clearly, ownership did like Shador. I go back to the faces of the panel when they drafted him. It's like no one even cheered. There was no high fives. They were just all straight face looking at the camera. So I kind of knew that coaching staff wasn't a big fan of Sanders.
Yeah.
What you said too, Lawrence, going back to Shador Sanders, that's more of a Pro Bowl thing than a Sanders thing. I thought he looked pretty decent in his minimal time. But it's Cleveland, so I don't want to waste too much time with Cleveland. But if you guys would believe me, I had a feeling they wouldn't be very good before the season. And here we are. Another new head coach, another rebuild coming for Cleveland. Myles Garrett should have just wanted to go to Buffalo. Should have just gotten traded, but instead he took the bag and the record for it, so like that's great.
Get
But
the record,
yeah, that's Cleveland in a nutshell.
Yeah, I'm just gonna agree with you guys. The beginning of the season, I thought they were gonna be bad. I thought they were gonna be fourth in the AFC North, and here we are, last in the AFC North. Stefanski's gone. Only the bright spot, I guess, is like you said, Jacob Garrett has the sack record. Seems happy. He has his bag. Sanders doesn't seem too bad going forward. He probably should have the starting job next year unless they draft a quarterback. So maybe it gives Todd Monken a bit longer of a leash, so he can keep collecting checks for a while here in Cleveland.
Are you ready to move on to your Bengals?
Let's go. Next up, we got the Bengals. What were they? 6-10 or 6-11? Yeah, 6-11. I think I predicted them to be. I think I said second, and then I think I had the Ravens winning the division. Again, clear that it wasn't the case here. Joe Burrow gets hurt the second game of the season. Jake Browning stunk the joint up for like 4 games straight, make the trade for Flacco. He wins 1 game, and then Joe comes back somehow at Thanksgiving and finishes the season. So pretty up and down year, mostly down for the Bengals. Jacob, I'll let you go first. How would you review the Bengals season?
I thought all the drama in the offseason with the first round pick not signing and Trey Hendrickson definitely wasn't a good way to start. I did actually place a futures bet before the season on the Bengals. I think it was 11.5, 10.5, or 11.5. So I did have high hopes for the Bengals, and I was obviously incorrect. I think a lot of that obviously has to do with the Joe Burrow injury and the fact that their defense couldn't stop a runny nose with the Kleenex. I also think that they're in a weird situation because they're paying a lot of guys a lot of money, and I'm not necessarily sure how they're going to fix the problems on defense, keeping their head coach again. Cincinnati's going to be a tough team to kind of project next year, but as long as you have Chase and Burrow on your team, then, you got to be confident as long as they're both healthy. So I'm interested. To see what they address with. I assume Hendrickson's gone, right? All the stuff that came out last year, it seemed like their relationship kind of faded. So, losing, one of the few bright spots on a defense can't be ideal, but, they're a tough team to project just because the owner's so cheap.
Yeah, he is. Trey is gone. Whether that's tag and trade or he's outright going to sign for another team, yeah, he's going. Lawrence, what were did your prediction of the Bengals season go as you predicted? I'm assuming not.
I kind of thought they would finish third, but with more wins. So I was kind of there. I was a little off. I think I was a little skewed by your biasy. I'm not trying to blame you. I'm not trying to guilt you. I think I might have been skewed a little bit by your biasy. But what's no need to dwell on the season. We saw it was pretty bad. Like a Carolina Panther bad a couple years ago. It is what it is. Hear me out though. Going into next season, you're the only AFC North team with a returning coach, like you brought up. Might be the only AFC North team with a reigning 10-year quarterback who's been at the helm for multiple years. We don't know how the whole Lamar thing is going to go. And then he's got a new coach. It ain't even going to be the same Lamar. So he's got a new scheme. Everything's changing. Shador, he's getting a whole new scheme. Everything's changing. Pittsburgh, they're talking about running it back with Rodgers. Okay, they're going to be bad if they do that. Now, here's my point. If the Bengals come out next season and they're not number one in the division by like week 5, week 6, and they're like 4-1, 5-1, wherever you want to be, just one loss, looking good, I think when they have real tough, you just need to fire your boy and just, I wouldn't say torch the bitch, but someone's got to go. Because you're asking your coach to come in here with the greatest, I wouldn't say overall advantage, but you have a whole offseason knowing what your prize is, and you have your squad ready, like your coaching staff, like everything's ready and prepared. And if you shit the bed, because let's face it, they always start the season playing like 2 or 3 out of their first 5 within the division. If you lose one of them, just one of them, fire them. and then burn. Because, like, I'm not trying to be mean, but what's the point of, like, just wasting the time here? Like, you know, I thought you should have gotten rid of this coach this year, you know? It would have made way more sense. That way Joe Burrow can look happy again.
Hey, I agree with you. It's just not how they operate. And I think now that we're looking at it, I kind of see why they kept him. I think it's, you know, if they want to give the explanation of continuity and, you know, keeping a good thing going, which it's not a good thing going, right? Like we all three of us know that, right? If you go into next year with the only continuity in the AFC North, then you feel pretty good about, hey, maybe these teams are going to figure it out while we already have it figured out, right? So from that perspective, I understand it. They probably had the whispers of, you know, probably all their rivals, their coaches are going to get fired. They probably knew that, right? So from that perspective, I understand. But yeah, the season didn't go as planned. A lot of that has to do with Joe. But I feel like there's a lot of, well, not a lot. I feel like there's about 3 good spots coming out of the season, right? Offensive line, finish as the top 10 offensive line in the NFL. I think they were graded number 7 or 8. So that's a plus, big plus there. Joe has the best offensive line going forward of his career, right? You got Jamar, you got T under contract for the next 4 years. Both of them are Pro Bowlers this year. Shout out T for just getting named to the Pro Bowl. You got Chase Brown, who I call now C-Mac Light, you know, pretty decent running back. He's going to want an extension. I don't know how they're going to go about that, but we'll see how much money he's going to want. But and there's defensive starters on there. You know, defense isn't good, but they were trending in the right direction. But I think the biggest part of that is just finding starters, right? DJ Turner, Pro Bowl snub, should admit it. Didn't allow a 100-yard receiver, I think, for most of the season. Maybe only had one. Dax Hill, once he got kicked to the outside, became a pretty solid, reliable corner. And Jordan Battle's not a bad safety. I think Geno Stone just weighed him down. That guy's ass. Like, he's fucking terrible. There's a reason why the Ravens, who are also terrible in their secondary, let him go. I don't know why we picked him up. So there's a couple of bright spots. And Myles Murphy, first round pick like 3 years ago, he's finally turned the corner. Look like he's a solid, you know, DN too. So some solid spots on defense. I feel like there's a lot of spots we got to work on. We can talk about it in the offseason, but I said going into the season, Jacob, I don't know if you watched the episode, but I said the Bengals before the season were still off season away from even contending. So in actuality, I'm not even mad how the season turned out. This draft, you know, we get a top 10 pick. If we do what we should, I think we could greatly improve the team. You know, Caleb Downs, Ruben Bain, Peter Woods, you know, any of those top defensive guys that they land to us at 10, I feel like could really change the defense. But I always thought that we were off season away from last year. So personally, I'm not too mad.
That's a good shout. Also, shout out to Joe Flacco, second year, and I think second out of 3 years where he's had like prime time, divisional, big time game, and just balled out on prime time in front of everybody. I think it was early in the season against the Steelers. I could be wrong. That he just went back and forth with Rodgers. Yeah, and it was just like out of nowhere. He just got traded over, and like here comes Joe Flacco, put on another vintage performance. Love Joe Flacco.
That's our guy. Hopefully he comes back. Joe and Joe running the show. Next up, we got the Ravens. A team that I thought was going to win the division. Obviously, that didn't happen. Coach got fired. They bring in Jesse Minter, defensive-minded guy. You know, Baltimore is known to favor their defense, pay their defense, so this is very much up their alley. Jacob, how do you feel about the Ravens after this season?
I think after watching the Week 1 Sunday Night Football Ravens Bills and just that disgusting game back and forth, I think Henry had like $150 by like the third quarter. I think I had gone upstairs, like I had left the TV. I had saw the game on my phone, but like that was one of those games I was disgusted. And then the Bills just kind of found a way. He got a fumble here, which, you know, became a story with Henry. And basically the Ravens found a way to lose and the Bills found a way to win. And for the Ravens' point, they kind of just kept finding ways to lose all season. I think I saw a stat. They're like the third team in the last however many years. They lost like 3 games when leading by 10 in the fourth quarter. Like, golly, like we all know they have talent. We all know they have good players. And I know Lamar was hurt for, a good portion of the season. And when he did play, he wasn't 100%. So it is hard to judge the Ravens based on this past season. But, I mean, for as much talent as they had, they were the number one preseason odds to win the Super Bowl. Like, that was who Vegas saw as the best team. And that's who a lot of people saw, including myself, week one. As I was watching them, I was like, man, this team is loaded. And injuries, some poor coaching, some, bad luck, I guess. And now they lost, their head coach of a long time. And Lamar's got a $70 whatever million salary or cap hit next year. So they're in an interesting spot. But at the same time, they still have Lamar. As long as you have an MVP caliber quarterback, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if the Ravens, were in the, championship game next year, just because of how good we know he is when he's healthy. So all in all, I had big expectations for the Ravens. I did not see their season going the way it did. And I'm curious to see what that offense specifically looks like next year under a defensive coach and mentor.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one, Lawrence. How did your preview match up with how the Ravens season ended?
Well, I said they'd be duking it up there at the end and trying to make it the playoffs, and they did, just with a lot less wins. I think we might notice that a lot the NFC North, but I would say the problem with this team, I would say probably is coming to the point of age. Their O-line's getting a little older. Like Patrick Ricard, I know he's only a fullback, but like he's kind of been like a cornerstone life piece for him. He's getting up in their age. He's not going to be able to keep doing it anymore. DeAndre Hopkins doesn't even look like he's in half the games, even though he's their starting wide receiver. I don't even know he's like. You look at the box score, you don't even know he's being thrown out half the game.
Yeah.
The next big question is, you gave all that money to Mark Andrews. Now you're not going to be able to pay Isaiah Likely.
He's out of there.
That likely wasn't your best option. And now you're going to have to run it with that old man, Andrews. And, I mean, it's probably not going to work out, I would say, in the long run. But they gave it their shot. I think the main problem with the team in the future going will be the fact that there won't be any continuity, because I think that they're in a horrible spot. So if you look at the roster, like the running back's going to be falling off the wall about the time where you're going to have to pay the quarterback another round, because Lamar's going to need a contract in 2 or 3 years. Derrick Henry's not going to be worth a damn in 2 or 3 years. Zay Flowers is also going to need some money. You got no wide receivers besides Zay Flowers. Tight end, you're going to get screwed there this year. So futurely, you're going to be looking at draft after draft. Then you look at the defense. We've been saying Marlon Humphreys is bad for, 2 years now? And then you still got him running there at CB1. So might as well hit the road with that one. You got to reanalyze that. I mean, at least Louisier is not horrible, but he also isn't that great. Kyle Hamilton, as beautiful moments he provides you, he also lets you get hit with some what the hell were that kind of moments in which he'll either completely whiff a tackle or he'll be blitzing the quarterback, and then it honestly looked like he forgot that he was supposed to be blitzing the quarterback, and then yeah, I remember that one. Kyle Van Noy is a free agent after this year, so your linebacking core is going to be kind of decimated. Roquan Smith isn't very good in coverage, so you do need more of a coverage linebacker to go with him. There's a lot of holes, man. I'm just saying, there's a lot of things.
Yeah, I think out of all the AFC North teams, I think the Ravens might be. Well, I'm not gonna say that. I think them and the Steelers are on par with trending in the wrong direction. I think Mentor will help the defense. I don't think he'll completely flip it around like 180. I think there's too many holes for a single guy to come in and fix. And I think with Lamar's pending $70 million cap hit, unless they really, the owner says they're going to commit to Lamar, he might say it now, and then who knows in the spring if they have a chance to get off of him, because the team offers him a boatload of picks, if he's going to say no or yes, So I think this team has a lot of holes to fill, offense and defense, and I think they're just trending in the wrong direction. Last but not least, we got the Steelers. Big Mike McCarthy is the coach now. Pair him up with Aaron Rodgers one more time. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Who knows there? But yeah, they are moving on from Mike Tomlin. This is the Mike McCarthy era, and it might or might not start with a bunch of losses. So before we get to that, though, how would we grade Mike Tomlin's last season? How do we think? Start with you, Jacob.
I think, unpopular opinion, it was one of his better coaching jobs. Based on when Aaron Rodgers signed there at the very end of the offseason after he made him wait for months.
Yeah.
The public persona was, this is a joke, this team's no good, they stink. And I really think that my expectation of them was to just go 9-8, keep the streak of, winning seasons alive, probably miss out on the playoffs because I assumed the Ravens and the Bengals were going to be kind of fighting for that. And the Steelers were one of those weird teams that would play and they would lose to a team like, the Bengals, and then they'd beat a team like the Patriots, and then they'd lose. Like, the Bills beat them so bad, and then they came out and looked like gangbusters the next week. It's like they were always very week to week. I think in this NFL, it is generally week to week, but a lot of teams, the better teams, can follow momentum and can play a certain style consecutively. If you watched every Pittsburgh Steelers fan, it would basically be like taking a dice and just rolling the dice. Like, oh, which Steelers team are we going to get today? Like, are we going to get the team that actually has a good defense and has an offense that has to be slow but can move? And then you'll get a game where Rodgers is throwing for 275 and throwing all over the place. And the defense is also allowing 30 points a game, and they were such a random crapshoot. And I will say they were very entertaining for that sake. But for Pittsburgh's sake, I mean, obviously that's not what they wanted. And then they went and got a guy that's probably going to deliver a very similar season, especially if they get Rodgers again. But we'll save that for later. Pittsburgh's just one of those really, really weird, goofy teams. And they were almost exactly as expected this season. Just you never knew when they'd lose, never knew when they'd win. I'm going to say the exact same thing about the Atlanta Falcons when we get to that division. Don't you wait. Some of these teams, man, they just don't know who they are, and you can tell as a fan watching them. It's just like that's not the same team from 2 weeks ago, from last week, and it's definitely not the same team we're going to see next week because they're impossible of playing the same style of football consecutively. But they made it to the playoffs. Hey, good for them, right? They made it to the playoffs, extended the streak, got killed, and then finally parted ways with Tomlin. So we'll see what happens.
Lawrence, did your preview of the Steelers come true? I'm pretty sure we both had them possibly being the third place finishing team in the preview.
I don't know. I think I might have had them below the Browns because I was being a hater. I'm dead ass. I'm pretty dead ass. Yeah. I'm pretty sure I had because I'm pretty sure I said this wide receiver unit was garbage, which I clapped to myself. The last 2 weeks of the season when DK Metcalf wasn't on that team, this fucking wide receiver unit was ass. Jaylen Warren was half the heartbeat, and Kenneth Gainwell, were half the heartbeat of the wide receiving core, and the freaking running backs. Yeah, this wide receiver core was ass. Jonnu Smith was better than Calvin Austin, and I'm going to say about 16 out of 18 games on the season. And I know one of them is a bye week, so take that with what you will. I think the Patriots, I think the Steelers, just like the Ravens, are in, I would say, probably are in no man's land. Like, there's just no good way to really look at this team and figure out how you're really going to start maneuvering around it. I mean, I've heard people say, let's go the Will Howard route and, let it ride. I mean, I'd rather let it die before I did that. But because if he had a chance to really play, you don't think he would have been playing instead of Mason Rudolph when Rodgers couldn't throw, or when you made Rodgers go back there when he still couldn't throw the ball? Obviously, the guy's not that prepared, and you want to roll into a new season with him. Okay. And then you want to pay people like Cam Hayward. I get it. He's a Steeler legend. He's awesome, blah, 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 this. Dude's got to be 40 or pushing 40, regardless of what he's pushing. He's just not what he once was.
36.
30, he might as well be 40 in defensive tackle terms, but he ain't what he once was. He doesn't get to the quarterback like he once did, and my God, if he has to go run down a running back, he's just gonna go on the ground because he can't. Like there are good times. Like for instance, no one really wanted him to go tell Old Yeller to go around the shed and do the thing, but sometimes you just gotta let the thing happen. Like Cam Hayward, I'm sorry, we're gonna have to go another direction. I know you want money. I can't even really justify paying you veteran minimum plus the 10-year value because you've been here so long, so you think you got something coming. I can't pay you that. I got so many of the things I got to do. Okay, we'll go to the next one. Like Alex Highsmith. Okay, he's a nice, solid number 2 linebacker. Dude misses like every other game. He's injured every other game. So might as well not even be playing. Dude's always hurt. Okay, the guy replacing him when he gets hurt, that Nick Herbig guy, yeah, he's kind of decent. He has flashy plays for like one game, and then he's hurt. Mind you, this is a continuous problem with this team and their linebacking unit. It's just constantly guys in rotation getting hurt. And you got Patrick Queen going game to game, trying to will the next guy back up game to game. And then TJ Watt just bails you out. Whatever. I think this team is going to suck for a while, and I'm going to enjoy it.
Tell us how you really feel, Lauren.
Yeah,
bro, Steeler fans have been like, oh, man, we're not shit, but we're also not good for like years now. I would just love to see them suck. I would just love to see Steelers fans have nothing to cheer for, which if you look at their team, they're going to be suffering in a few years unless they obviously do the Steeler thing and they just somehow get 4 draft picks that just boom out of nowhere.
Very well could happen. Hey, we've been praying on the downfall for the entirety of the show, so it's bound to happen at some point, right?
Mike McCarthy's a good coach. Mike McCarthy can win some games.
Yeah, he can win some games. It'd be interesting to see how he wins game with this offense, though. But
true,
just great in the season. I had them. I previewed them being third, ended up winning the division. Made a fool out of me. I agree with you, Jacob. This is probably one of Tomlin's better seasons. Probably one of his best. Top 5. I mean, they didn't have much, and he got them to 10 wins somehow. Some very impressive wins there. Squeeze. He squeezed the juice out of Aaron Rodgers. Now, does Aaron Rodgers have enough juice for Mike McCarthy to squeeze? I don't particularly think so. But hey, if they want to go that route, more power to them. But yeah, the Ravens are, in my opinion, situated to have some pretty bad seasons going forward unless they make some drastic changes, and I don't think that can come in just one off season. So it'll be interesting to see how they go from the Tomlin era to the Mike McCarthy era, how they kind of go about that. But yeah, I was wrong about the preview. Don't want to spend too much time on them. Quick NBA news: we do have, like I alluded to in the opener, Giannis. The Bucks are finally open to taking calls now. The Bucks did briefly take calls with the Knicks prior to season starting, prior to, I think, Mikal Bridges accepting his contract extension. Those talks didn't go far. Now the writing's on the wall. The Bucks, for the most part, are finally listening because they know that the end is near. So that was the big storyline coming out today. I think me and Lawrence have already talked about this once or twice. So, Jacob, I'll give it to you. Who do you think should trade for Giannis, and what would be your ideal destination for Giannis?
I think they're 2 different answers. I think who should trade for him and who has the most realistic packages is actually the Toronto Raptors. Because with or without Scotty Barnes, they have enough young guys with Grady Dick, and they can kind of throw in some like Brandon Ingram, Jakob Portal type of guys to kind of get that pushed across with the money. In terms of ideal destination, I feel like it's got to be, and I don't want to sound like a homer. I'm not even a homer because it's not the Wizards, but like I feel like if he went to the Spurs, it'd be so fun. Like I would watch way more Spurs games, and I already like watching them because of Wemby. But like if you put Wemby and Giannis on the same court together, give up, I don't know, probably not in Castle, but give up Dylan Harper, Shohei. They got pieces. The Spurs do. Yeah. So like. I think for me personally, if he went to the Spurs, that would be so exciting. But I think realistically, if he does get dealt, I think Toronto. But overall, personally, I still don't think he's going to get dealt. I think that while it's kind of the momentum is leaning towards him getting traded, I still just have a feeling in my gut he won't get traded this season. It'll probably be an off-season type of thing. But I'm curious to see what happens. I love a good trade deadline. So here we go.
Trade deadline officially kicking off. We got about a week and a day left. Lawrence, has your mind changed from the last time we talked about this, about possible Giannis destinations?
I mean, if it's me, I think like a team like Detroit, it really pushes them. But then I feel like it ruins their whole dynamic.
Yep.
But I feel like the problem with Giannis is no matter what perennial, because he's gonna want to go to a team that is contending or can win. But no matter what you're gonna do, is you're gonna run into the problem of you're gonna ruin the continuity in your team already, in order to put him on there. Now let's say right there it says like Golden State, like if Golden State traded for him, I'm not trying to be an ass, but like besides Kuminga in that Golden State trade package, who else are you gonna get me that if I'm the Bucks, I'm like, yeah, we'll give you Giannis. There ain't nothing that you're giving me unless you want to give me Curry, but you're not gonna give me Curry, so like, don't even call my phone. I don't want you. So, I mean, it's like of all these teams, like what can you provide for me? What can you get for me? Like Jacob said, it's probably gonna be an off-season thing because I don't think there's gonna be anyone that can give up anything and not ruin the continuity of their team to still make the playoff push.
Yeah. I think I'm giving it a 60-40. 60% he gets traded before the deadline. I think, me personally, I think it comes down to three teams prior to the deadline. I think the Heat, the Knicks, and the Raptors are probably the only serious contenders. Jacob, for the reasons why you listed, I think the Raptors make a good, compelling case for Giannis. I think the Knicks, a little bit more tricky. They don't have picks, right? So the Bucks will have to be okay with Cat plus either OG or Mikal Bridges. Me personally, if you're the Bucks, you want to kind of lose. You want to tank this year because you can keep your pick this year, even though you swap it with the Pelicans. But the Pelicans are equally as bad, if not worse. So in reality, you want to tank the rest of this year. You don't want any, very outstanding players back. You want maybe prospects that you can develop, but you don't want win now players. And Cat and either OG or Mikal Bridges are win now players. So I'm not really too enticed if I'm the Bucks with that offer. The Heat just lack the draft picks. We only can offer two, but I do like Khalil Ware, Jovic, Hawkes, who's up there with the sixth man of the year running. So he's still a young guy, still on a rookie contract. Could be enticing. You throw in Terry Rozier's expiring, so you get off some money as well. Could be enticing, but it just depends on what the Bucks want. I've heard the Spurs, the Rockets, the teams that have the most stuff, I heard are out. It's like the Pistons too. Like the teams that are good but still have a lot of stuff apparently are out of the running. So this is gonna be a little interesting. It's gonna be a not very limited, but a somewhat limited trade market for Giannis because there's not a lot of teams out there that can offer pretty much everything they want. They probably have to pick, whatever the best offer is, or if Giannis just flat out says, I want to go to X place, or I want to go to this place, whatever the case is. That is how I envision this thing going.
Yeah, the Knicks seem like where Giannis wants to play, but you hit the nail on the head. They don't get any first-round picks because they traded him off for Bridges. So that seems like a tricky destination for Giannis, even if he does want to get in there. And for a team like the Wizards, I think that they could probably kind of hop in and be like a third team to a deal and just basically accept salary and maybe get compensation from picks. But like you said, it's going to be a complicated deal. So I wonder if it's going to be something that just kind of happens out of nowhere like Luka, or something that's going to take a long time to develop and really get pushed through the finish line.
Yeah, 3-team probably at most. And I feel like probably the good teams that we're thinking of, the Spurs, the Rockets, I feel like the Thunder, they'll be facilitators because some of these teams have the Bucks picks, so they might be enticed to maybe give off a pick or two if they can get something enticing back that's not Giannis, So watch out for that as well.
I think that's smart, and I just want to point out that I think it was a draft day or maybe like right after the finals, the Pacers traded a future first-round pick to the whoever. I think it was the Pelicans, actually, just to keep adding up on that. to get their original pick back because they knew they were going to suck without Halliburton, and then they suck without Halliburton, and they're going to keep that top pick. Whereas the Pelicans, who gave them that top pick, got rid of their first round pick to get another first round pick last year. So like the Pelicans could have had 2 top 5 picks, and instead they have 0.
Yeah, sucks to be a Pelicans fan. Sorry.
Yeah.
All right, we got UFC 325. Of course, 324 is last weekend. For some reason, Dana wants to go back to back. I think this one is on Sydney, Australia. If you guys want to take it away, I don't know if you're going to go over the whole card, just the main card. I don't know what you guys are going to do, but go ahead.
So we got UFC 325 from Sydney, Australia. We got one of the greatest of all time, Alexander Volkanovski, defending his featherweight title against Diego Lopez. These guys fought, I think it was early last year. It might have been middle of last year. Volk put on a masterpiece performance, won in a pretty entertaining decision. And now they're going to run it back. I think Dana's message, especially with the Pimblett and Gaethje fight, is on this Paramount Plus, we're going to put on the best fights. If you got a better resume, if you got a better case to be the next challenger, I don't care. I want to see the guy that fights the funnest and whoever is going to put on a banger. And I think that is Diego Lopez personified. Volkanovski's getting up there in age. He's 37 now. But he's still one of my GOATs, and you'll never find me picking against him. Lawrence, what do you think, man?
Well, I'm with you with the Volkanovski not being able to pick against him. And the fact that they're both got 27 wins and he's still got less losses at his age, and the fact that you work construction and everything, I'm going to have to go Volk. I mean, I could see how Lopez wins, but my only problem with Lopez is when a guy doesn't have a chin, it makes it really hard because the man just wants to blitz, and the strategy game isn't like his strong suit, I would say, because I don't know, because I think it's probably just because he's younger, but he just likes to blitz in there. He likes to get wild and like a bar fight, which I don't think that works with Volkanovski unless you can somehow tap into that chin he's developed at his age.
Yeah, I agree. And I also think that you kind of just described the first fight really, really well. I mean, Diego blitzed in a lot. Volk is just so much more experienced and so good that he was kind of able to keep his distance and then kind of get in and do damage to Lopez. It's tough because, Volk got a year older and Diego got another years of experience. So it's hard to see this fight going any different than the first one. I think, like you said, if Diego pops him, if he catches him on the chin, that would probably be his best way to victory. But if he just tries to run after Volkanovski, Volk's going to pick him apart. So I agree with that. It looks like this main card's just a little weaker than last week's. Last week was the first one on Paramount, so that's a little bit expected. But looks like the co-main event we have very quickly returning from a beatdown to Armin, Dan Hooker versus Benoit Saint Denis. Saint Denis won a couple in a row. He's on a nice little streak. Dan Hooker is probably the worst number 6th ranked fighter I've ever seen in the history of the sport. I can't believe there's a 6 next to his name. But what do you think about this one, man? It might not surprise anybody. I got Benoit Saint Denis by anything he wants to in this fight.
Yeah, I think the only way Dan Hooker wins this is to knock him out, and I haven't seen Benoit rattled enough to think that he could be. I wouldn't say to be knocked out by Dan Hooker. I'm going to give Dan Hooker a little respect that he could knock him out, but he doesn't have a crazy reach advantage or anything. He's definitely not going to have the body size advantage. So when they get into the clinch, screw it. I mean, as much as I don't think Dan Hooker's any good, I have this. I just never bet on the French, so I'm just going to leave it alone. But if I had to bet, I guess I do Hooker just because I can't bet on the French. French fighters always seem to just not win it for me. They're pretty unique at that.
Yeah, shout out Dustin Poirier for knocking out Benoit Saint Denis on 299. I think that was March of 2024. Taking a swing there. I think we were together, Lawrence. That fight was awesome. Good for Dustin Poirier. I will say, too, one of the things to keep in mind here is Benoit fights in France whenever they go to Paris a lot. So he is used to kind of being that guy that everybody loves. This fight being in Australia, Dan Hooker's going to be the guy that everybody loves. So I think that if it does kind of play into Saint Denis' kind of emotions, that'll benefit Dan Hooker. But I mean, recency bias or not, Dan Hooker looked terrible his last fight, and Saint Denis looked like a killer his last fight. So I'm going to stick with the French on this one. And going down, so previously undefeated in the UFC, Rufi, I think it's no, it doesn't.
It's Mauricio.
Mauricio, yeah, thank you. Mauricio Rufi had an incredible streak, and then he got paired up with Benoit Saint Denis in his last fight. Benoit Saint Denis lasted him, worked him, and now Rufi gets a really interesting matchup with Rafael Fiziev. Fiziev just lost to Gaethje. Obviously, Gaethje's now the lightweight interim champion of the world, so we know how good Gaethje is. What are your thoughts on this one? I think just looking at the card now, that's probably my favorite fight on the main card, minus the Volkanovski fight. Just because these guys are both very technical.
It's definitely the best fight outside of the Volk fight, because I don't think the fight that's right below this one is very good. I kind of have to give the edge to Fiziev, because arguably you could make the argument that like he fought the best fight he could against Gaethje. I mean, at the end of the day, Gaethje was just better than him.
Yeah,
but he still. I mean, he didn't look weary. He still duked it out to the final ring. My only issue with this fight is the fact that Rufi is such a killer in his ability to, like, I would just say, take advantage and keep it when he's fighting, and then the fact that he's almost got a 4-inch reach advantage. So he's gonna do what he likes from the outside, and then when he wants to pressure him and move in on him, he's got that advantage to be able to do that. And we're gonna have to see Fiziev, I would say, going lateral a lot in order to cut distances, in which I don't know. I feel like Rufi, if he stays technical, will be able to counter that. It just depends on whether or not Rufi stays technical. He's a younger guy, so that might be Fiziev's game plan is to break him that way.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. And also, I misspoke. Fiziev just beat up Bahamundas in his last fight. So he rebounded from the Gaethje loss, got a win against another up-and-coming prospect. I like this fight a lot. I'm probably going to give it to Rufi. I like both dudes. Like I said, I'm just looking forward to a good fight there, especially after this heavyweight slobber knocker in which Tai Tuivasa is going to be taking on Towson Teixeira. Teixeira is relatively new. He has a 15 by him, so he just entered the rankings. Tai's been gone for, I'm not looking at it, probably a year and a half, maybe closer to 2 years. When he was getting knockouts and doing shoeies, he was, on top of the world. He's lost a lot in a row. I haven't even checked to see because I just know for a fact it's been a long time. It looks like February 12th, 2022 was the last time he got a win. He's on a 5-fight losing streak, but he hasn't fought since August of 24. So he's been out for almost 2 years. I heard him say that he's actually eating eggs and blueberries now. I guess he cut them out of his diet. So maybe that'll help. Maybe it won't. He's going to be the hometown guy. I'm sure the fans are going to want to see it. Obviously, I want to see Tai Tuivasa get a knockout and drink a beer from somebody's shoe because that's awesome. But I've just seen too many losses in a row to go for my boy Tai here. So I'll take the Towson Teixeira, who I also believe has a big reach advantage as well. Yeah, he's 6'7". This Teixeira guy's a monster. So give me, I'll take the Brazilian here.
Yeah, Brazilian probably. I don't know. It's a first round knockout for sure. One of them's not walking out of the arena.
Yeah, this will not go 5 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd probably go Teixeira. The only ways I could go Tai is because he's at home, but he's looked bad. I mean, I haven't watched one of his fights. I guess you said since 2022. Like I was about to say, I don't think I've seen this man win since COVID, but I guess he has. Can't be that much of a hater. Can't be that much of a hater.
But I will say, when he was on his run, it was electric. When he was on top of the world, it was very, very fun. So of course I'd be excited to see that again. But I know better. I've lost some U.S. currency on Tuivasa before, and I am deciding not to do it again. Coming on here to the first fight of the main card, Quinnen Saukid, who is a young super prospect for the UFC. Pretty sure, and I'll tell you in a second, I'm pretty sure he's undefeated since he's been in the UFC. Yeah, 3 straight wins. His last, go look this up, guys, and anybody listening. His last fight was against Haprask, and it was one of those flash knockouts where you're watching it and then it was just over immediately. Head kick knockout. Guy was on the ground for like 2 minutes afterwards. He absolutely kicked him into the next stratosphere. This kid's an absolute beast. Danny Malarkey, two Australian guys, going at it. Malarkey's been in the UFC for a long time, kind of a journeyman. Yeah, he's good. Yeah, he's skilled. I think the UFC's kind of putting Sal Kid on the main card of a numbered event to kind of show the world, like, hey, we got a guy, we got another Aussie prospect, and he's a name that we should be knowing now and definitely in the future.
I think he takes care of Malarkey. I'm not much to talk about on this one, but I didn't watch his last fight. I don't know anything about Sal Kid, so hopefully they hit me notice. They give me notes about him right before it.
I'm telling you, keep an eye on it. And I'm just looking at Malarkey stuff. The guy that Sal Kid just knocked out, Haprask, he just knocked out Malarkey a couple fights ago. So UFC MMA math is the worst. Never trust it, but I do like Sal Kid to get the job done. And then looking at the prelims, I don't know if there's any you want to go over, Lawrence, but I'm pretty much good. These are all solid fights, but not necessarily worth breaking down.
No, not when your best card. Oh, I wouldn't say your best one in the main card, but when Tafa is like leading off your starting card.
Yeah,
it's not prelim. It's not the craziest thing. I guess some people I'll tell you to keep away from. I think it's Oban Elliott at welterweight. Maybe not. Maybe don't bet on him. I've lost some dollar bills on him recent. I think that's the only person that I'm looking at down at these that I would ever say anything ill will of, because most of them I don't know anything other than Junior Tafa. Yeah, don't bet on Junior Tafa. Don't bet on either Tafa. Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Don't do any Tafas. Stay away from all the Tafas.
Cam Rouston, who's right before the future prelim, the Tafa fight. Cam Rouston's another off the Contender Series Aussie kid. I'm pretty sure he fought in the Contender Series and then asked to be on like a card like 2 weeks later. Got on the card 2 weeks later and got finished, first round finish against Andre Petrosky. So
I think I remember that. And Cody Brundage is not that great.
Brundage is one of those guys that he'll either lose or get poked in the eye or kicked in the balls, or he's always involved in something. But Rouston and Sal Kid, keep your eyes out for, because those kids are definitely on the come up.
So are they fighting at a catch? No, they're not at middleweight. Why is he's 202 pounds? Is he dropping?
Yeah, I think Brundage's last fight he was at light heavyweight. Wait, yeah. So he better be. He coming in at 205 for this fight.
Damn. How much a favor is Rouston? A minus 370. Minus 370. Minus 370. It's not that bad of a deal.
Yep. So that's all we got over there. Anything else to recap with?
Nothing else. Out of the other sports, I got nothing.
George Mason got a nice little win today. I don't know if you guys want to talk about that day of win, but they're now, I think, what is it, 19-2? Best record of all time? School history?
In school history, Lawrence, you sent us something. BCU apparently is ahead of them in the net ratings for some reason.
Jeez.
Yeah, on Joe Lenardi's last ballot, he had George Mason as the last team in, and we would be playing. I forgot who it was. Oh, NC State. And Joe Lenardi's little bracketology, we'd be playing NC State in order to get into the tournament. I don't know about you guys, but I do not want to play NC State to have a chance to get into the tournament. NC State actually looks pretty decent out there. The fact that NC State is as far down to say that they are a play-in, like you got to play to get in, is a little wild to me. I agree. I think college basketball wise, I think there's just been in certain Power 4 leagues, they have been given too much weight and to their overall, like, I guess, skill or abilities. And one of those I'm saying, like the Big 12, right? Every year we keep saying the Big 12 is super good at basketball, and constantly you watch the tournament, the Big 12 is always kind of like mid. They're not that great. They're kind of if. They're kind of bad. Last year we had like 12 teams in the SEC out of 14 make the NCAA tournament. There's just way too much like stock put into these Power Four big schools, and there's no one making it outside in like the small big majors. And I personally believe this season alone has a lot of good mid majors to do some damage, like Miami of Ohio, St. Louis, low-key George Mason. There's some teams out there that might make the cut, like I don't know, like a UC San Diego, something like that. But no one's gonna give them the chance. They're talking about the A10 still being a one bid league again. Yet they're saying VCU is so high in net ratings, yet they're third our league. So make it make sense. I think that's just something that I think I've said this before. That I think it's just something that's constantly going to be a problem. But like there's just not given a whole lot of love outside of Big 10, Big 12, SEC. Like if we look about it, like the Big East, they kind of suck this year. The Big East is nothing like amazing. You got UConn, you got St. John's, and then you got Villanova, who here, there, sometimes anywhere. Creighton kind of sucks. Just putting that out there. DePaul is proven to not be that good. Butler, proven to not be that good. Butler is one of those teams they were talking about as like the last four in. Butler does not even deserve the ability to have their name in the NCAA tournament. This team is 13-7 and 4-5 in the Big East. That's not impressive. There's nothing impressive about that. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. There's just like a lot of top heaviness in college basketball, and there doesn't need to be. There's plenty of teams throughout different leagues or conferences that could make noise when the dance comes. You don't have to put the biggest guys in there every single time.
Yeah, no, I agree. Looks like A10 might only be a one bid team, but one bid league, maybe two if some things go their way. But yeah, we were saying this kind of last year, Lawrence, how some of these mid majors deserve more than just one team. Maybe we get some more love in the mid majors.
Yeah, I don't think there is one mid major that's providing more than just one bid right now.
And that's a damn shame, because I mean,
it is a shame.
We got Miami of Ohio still undefeated. And we got,
in the MAC alone, right? You got Miami of Ohio that's 21-0, and then you're going to tell me that Akron doesn't deserve to be in the tournament, and they're 8-1 in their conference, and their only loss is to Miami of Ohio, and they're 17-4. But you want to put a 13-7 Butler team that's 4-5 in the Big East? Makes sense. Makes sense.
Make it make sense. Jacob, any thoughts?
I mean, yeah, I see the point. I mean, obviously George Mason's one of those teams that we wish, and I mean, we watch A10 basketball, and I know it's not the most popular conference, but like these are good teams. I mean, these are legit teams, and it is tough when you're not getting looked at through the same lens as a Big 12 or a Big 10 or an SEC school. Even all Big Four. I mean, just the way that they kind of prestige their conferences and the level of play is almost unfair because they don't necessarily get a chance, to kind of play these teams. I mean, occasionally the early season matchup, and for Mason's sake, they play Virginia Tech, who is proven to have some good wins, and they were mostly in the game with them. So it's like having such a small sample size of playing a Power Four team, it definitely puts these teams at a big disadvantage. So hopefully something will be done about it. Most likely it won't, because for the NCAA's sake, they want the biggest and most recognizable names in the tournament, and George Mason unfortunately does not have one of those.
But I think one thing revolving about that is they introduced so many more beginning of the season tournaments.
True.
And all the good teams go to play at like 4. So then you're scattering the rest of them have been around forever. There's been a lot of them have been around forever. Like Battle for Atlantis or whatever. That thing's been around forever. I think the best team was like VCU.
That was the one we got scammed out of.
We got scammed out of something, but I mean, regardless, like Well, all the good teams went and played it like I don't remember what tournament it was. They called it some kind of like Hall of Fame tournament at the very beginning of the season, and it had like there were 16 teams in it, and they had 13 of them 13 out of the 16 were in the top 25 within the first like rankings. Mm-hmm. So if all the good teams were just going to go into one big tournament to play each other, you then re-screw these guys. But why did they go play in that tournament? Because the winner of the tournament got like $1 million. So your team came out the winner of the tournament, you got $1 million. Well, no one else is giving anyone $1 million. So then you're stuck with what you got.
I would say too, Lawrence, to speak on that point, that's a really good point. But also, I feel like where the NCAA is coming from is they're asking these bigger teams, saying like, "Hey, can you compete in this tournament? Because if you compete and you lose, we won't hold that against you." So like, yes, if you win, there's money, but also like, don't be afraid of losing 2 games early because these are quality teams, and we won't punish it for you later. Then you have a team like Miami, Ohio that wins 21-20 in a row. And it's like, yeah, you haven't played anybody. It's like, yeah, but that team's lost 7-8 games. Like, just because, you might excuse some of the losses, it still doesn't equal out to the fact that we've won all these games and they've lost all those games. I think the NCAA has to have their fingerprints on it somewhere for it to make sense.
To go back on George Mason, though, they have a net rating of 67. They're 19-2. They have one quad 1 game against Virginia Tech, and they lost. Mm-hmm. They have 4 quad 2 games. Now, Rhode Island has been bumped up to quad 2. They have moved up to quad 2. So they beat Florida Atlantic, VCU, and George Washington, who are all in quad 2. And then quad 3 and quad 4, they are perfect. They have no losses in quad 3 or 4. So the games you're telling them they have to guaranteed win. Like, if you lose this, you're donezo, you're out. They've won. They've won all the quad 3, all the quad 4. They did everything you asked them to do. Now, when you get to the quad 1s and quad 2s, they are 3-2. They pretty much have done what you asked. Go better than 500 in your quad, your main quad games, the ones that you need to better yourself for the end. Now, I would say their next problem is, if you look at their upcoming games, they don't have anybody outside of Richmond, George Washington, VCU, and St. Louis to finish the season. So they got Richmond and George Washington back-to-back. George Washington's a quad 1 team, too. So you're only giving us a quad 2 because they were ranked as quad 2 at the time. But on this thing down here, it does say that George Washington is a quad 1 team. So you could take that with a grain of salt. VCU is not even technically ranked as a quad 1 team.
Should be an interesting finish to the season. We'll keep you guys updated with some of these future Mason games. But I think this is a wrap for episode 213, Sideline Brief Podcast. Thank you guys for watching on YouTube, listening on Spotify, all that good stuff. And we will see you next week. Peace.